I want to start by asking you about Remdesivir, your COVID antiviral drug, as we're in the thick of Omicron right now. And we've been hearing a lot about the potential for this to be used similarly to the antibody drugs, where if you can give it early before people are hospitalized, it can really be helpful. How much use are you seeing in that setting right now?
Yeah, thanks, Meg. Thanks for having me. And Remdesivir has really been had a major impact upon this pandemic over the course of the past now close to 2 years. It is the standard of care in the hospital setting, and in fact, 3 out of 5 patients that are administered to the hospital are receiving Remdesivir, and that's making a big difference for patients. It's getting patients out of the hospital sooner, 5 to 7 days sooner, and stopping them from going on to more severe consequences of the disease. So, this is really a major impact, particularly at this time when hospitals are under such stress. And importantly, it's working across all known variants today, including Omicron. And thanks to the investment we made, we have, adequate supply. And you also mentioned now the new data that came out and was just published in the New England Journal of Medicine in December, actually, just before Christmas, where a short course of Remdesivir therapy given in the outpatient setting is close to 90% effective at stopping patients from going into the hospital setting. So this is making a big impact on the pandemic, and we certainly look forward to making sure that the NIH guidelines that now have Remdesivir in the outpatient setting are communicated to clinicians and to hospital centers to provide yet another options for patients with COVID.
Right, and it's even more important now as we've lost so many of our treatment options and 2 of the antibody drugs because they've lost effectiveness against Omicron. Dr. Fauci has talked about 3-day Remdesivir as really being a solution that should be looked to, but it's 3 days of intravenous administration of this therapy, and we saw how difficult it was for even a one-time treatment with antibody drugs. Is our infrastructure set up to do this well?
Well, I think the antibody drugs have helped to make sure that the outpatient settings are more capable today than they were, let's say, 18 months ago at being able to deliver these outpatient infusions. I would say that, with 30 years of experience, Gilead has a lot of experience in knowing that we're going to need multiple different options in the outpatient setting and in the hospital to really attack COVID and bring it to its knees. And, I think it won't be appropriate for all patients necessarily, but for those centers that have outpatient capability, this will be a very, very important tool, given the level of efficacy and benefit this has for patients. And in addition, Meg, we're also working on an oral form of Remdesivir. It's going into early stage trials now. And what we know for sure after 30 years of experience in HIV is that we're going to need a lot of different mechanisms to be able to attack this virus, both in the hospital and outpatient. And Gilead stands firm and committed to making sure those therapies become available.
And when you say oral, is that the inhaled version of Remdesivir, or are we talking a tablet that you swallow?
We're talking a tablet that you swallow. So what we decided is that given the fact that our tablet that you swallow was in about the same stage as the inhaled version, we're putting all of our resources into the oral version. And again, when one thinks about our legacy in HIV, with a disease like this that mutates frequently and is involved in large populations, we're also thinking that this will need multiple different medicines, perhaps, for a patient to really be effective against all the potential future variants. So many of our HIV medicines, for instance, have 2 or 3 drug combinations in a single pill. So that's our strategy longer term, is to think about not only oral Remdesivir, which is one way of fighting the virus outside the hospital, but combining that with potentially other types of ways of fighting the virus to really suppress this and get us into a stage where we can manage this disease on a daily basis and a yearly basis.